Hi, this is Dr. Kerry Kriger, founder and executive director of Save the Frogs, and welcome to Save the Frogs Academy, Lake Erie Toads class, where our job is to protect the Lake Erie's Fowler's toads and spread amphibian awareness and education across Canada. Thanks for being here. So, can we start by having people chat me a message to make sure they can hear me and see my screen? Okay, excellent. All right, so how about we start out and we'll introduce ourselves. We've got myself on the line and 7 dedicated frog conservation students. Maybe make that 6 or 7. So I think, yeah, let's start with some introductions. And everybody, I have you muted right now because if people are unmuted, sometimes there's lots of background noise. If you want to talk at any point, just send me a chat and I will let you talk. And I may call on you. So let's start out with Eliza. Why don't you introduce yourself? Currently it's showing that you're self-muted, so you may need to unmute yourself. So if you can figure that out, Eliza, here you go. You're on.
Hello? Hello?
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we sure can. Why don't you tell us your name and a little of your background and why you're interested in this.
Okay. Can you still hear me?
We sure can.
Okay, just am playing with some functions here. Okay. So yeah, I was a member of the Burt Miller Nature Club, and they brought up the Save the Frogs, and I don't know, I've just been trying to learn more about the environment. I live in a rural setting, and I've always really loved being at my pond, and I've observed frogs and toads since I was really little, and then kind of came across this Lake Erie Fowler's Toad Conservation Project, and I was like, oh, you know, that I didn't really realize what was going on, and I would like to learn more about it.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks. All right, Lindsay King, I have you unmuted now.
Okay. Hi, my name is Lindsay. I am in I'm in Folsom, California. The reason why I was very interested in the Fowler toads is because I've closely followed the Houston toads since when I was doing my undergrad work, and just seeing all the horrific things that have happened to those toads and policies that were passed, there's a good chance that toad only exists in captivity now. So for me, I feel like now is the time to step up and help the Fowler toads to prevent them from similar fate. So that's my story.
Okay, thanks, Lindsay. Why don't you tell us, you have some amphibian background, biology background. You want to tell us a little something about your educational background or fieldwork or anything?
Sure. I have my bachelor's in environmental studies, and I did my undergrad thesis on the decline of the western spadefoot toad, because unfortunately a lot of these toads are facing similar fates right now. So my goal in life is to hopefully get involved in helping prevent this and getting them the protection they need, and pretty much doing preventative work when we see that their populations are starting to decline. You know, that's when we need to act, not when there's 200 in captivity and that's that, you know?
Okay, thanks. All right, that was Lindsay in California. All right, we've got Marie Janicki, I think is how you say her last name. How's it going, Marie?
Yep, that's right, Marie Janicki.
Hi.
I have a cottage at Lake Erie where the toads live. And in fact a pond where they might mate. I'm looking forward to trying to figure that out this spring. And I've been I've lived there for 2 years now, so I've kind of caught up with the whole story of this high-rise condominium that is going to be put right where the toads hibernate. And I've seen how the citizens, and there's a lot of summer residents there who are from the United States. Everybody just about from that area is opposed to this project, but it's the people in the rest of the town who, for some reason, are pushing it through, specifically the politicians who set up the deal with this developer. So it's just wrong from a lot of standpoints, and totally unnecessary because it could be built on the other side of the road where there's also publicly owned land that the town could have given. So it's really upsetting to see this happen, and no matter what you do, nobody listens. And so I'm trying to find some way to get somebody to pay attention to what's going on here and set it right.
Okay, thanks, Marie. And also, thanks for getting the word out to the Burt Miller Nature Club, which is where Eliza heard about us. So
that's great.
You know, that's how it works when we're saving the frogs and protecting the environment in general, is we go out and spread the word and get more people on board, and then our campaigns grow and become more powerful. So we've already seen that happening right now. Okay, so thanks. And also, you're a professor, right?
Yes. My background is in cell biology. I really don't know that much about environmental biology, but I am a biologist, and I have read up quite a bit on these frogs in the last year or so.
Okay,
toads.
Great. Thanks. All toads are frogs. Okay. All right. Ryan Partain, are you out there?
I am here. Sorry about all the background noise.
Okay, thanks.
Tell us. My name is Ryan Partain. Sorry. I'm in Oakland, California. I've always loved frogs and nature. I grew up in the middle of the woods. My grandfather was an instrumental member of the Department of Agriculture under Richard Nixon. So it's always kind of been a part of my family. And to me, frogs and toads were always like really I couldn't catch as a little kid. So naturally I always loved them. And when I heard about Lake Erie's Fowler toads, it just kind of screamed an episode of Captain Planet to me, where a big corporation is still pushing around a weak species for their own financial benefits. So here I am to support and fight the good fight.
Okay, thanks, Ryan. All right, so Ryan's working on finding a quieter place for the next class. All right, Sadie, you are good to go.
All right. I'm in Olympia, Washington. I have been really interested in becoming an amphibian conservationist. That's my main goal. And originally heard about the Fowler toads through the Save the Frogs website, which I was introduced to through a zoo that I've been working at for the past 4 years. And currently just switched and now working at Northwest Trek Wildlife Park and working on some conservation projects there with amphibians.
Okay, thanks. And we have Tessa Janicki. And you'll have to unmute yourself, Tessa. Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
I am Marie's daughter, actually, and I'm studying environment at in college, and I've been keeping up with the Fowler toads at in Ontario because we have a cottage there. And I just find it really interesting, and I just want to learn more about them so I can know what to feel about the situation of the high-rise condominium.
Okay, thanks. And where are you located?
I'm in Syracuse, New York.
Okay. All right, great. Okay, so thanks, everyone. So we got people from all around the world, international class here, Canada, USA. And, yeah, so there's 6 of you. Ideally, there'd be 10 of us. So if you do know people who do want to join us at the next few classes, then definitely let them know. And yeah, so guess I'll introduce myself. I'm Dr. Kerry Kriger, founder and executive director of Save the Frogs. I started Save the Frogs about 5 years ago, and I'm in Santa Cruz, California. I heard about the Fowler's toad issue at Lake Erie from a biologist up in Ontario, and I pretty much knew that if Save the Frogs did not get involved in the efforts to protect the toads, then that the toads were probably doomed, because I did not expect anybody else to put up any significant efforts, or certainly not more than was being done at the time. That was in maybe November of 2011. So December 2011, I created a web page about the toads and some petitions that we got online, and I sent out to our Save the Frogs mailing list, and we got, I think, 1,700 letters, or well over 1,000 letters sent to the Ontario Ministry of Natural Resources, as well as some of the local politicians like the mayor of Fort Erie. And that was because they had had a call for comments period related to giving out the permit to the Molinaro group of developers who want to build a non-essential condominium/shopping complex at the lake's edge where the Fowler's toads live. So I looked through the proposed permit and the mitigation measures. Basically, the Fowler's toads are protected under Ontario's Endangered Species Act, though the government of Ontario says that if the developers have a mitigation plan in place that would provide a net benefit to the population of toads, then it's all right to harm, harass, kill, damage, destroy their habitat and collect the toads. Now, I did not see any way that the population would be getting any overall net benefit from being harmed, harassed, killed, collected, and having their habitat destroyed. And I didn't see much value in what the Molinaro group was proposing to do to mitigate their damage. So I went pretty much line by line through that proposed permit and gave my view on it, and that was the basis of the petition we sent in, that over 1,000 Save the Frog supporters sent in to the Ontario government and the Fort Erie government, saying do not approve that permit because it's not helping the toads at all. It's not providing any net benefit. And you can read everything I wrote is on this page, which is savethefrogs.com/lake-erie-toads. So basically a few months later, Ontario Ministry of Natural Resources approved that permit. And they did not, to the best of my knowledge, make any changes based on all the comments that I had told them, all the ways that I said, hey, the Molinaro group is not helping. This mitigation measure will not help. You need to do something different. They didn't change anything at all about the permit. So even though Save the Frog supporters constituted the vast majority of the comments received by the department, they okayed the permits without making any changes. And so, again, we sent in letters last December, and again, about 1,700 people sent letters into the Ontario government and the Fort Erie government, which actually prompted a call. I got a call. I had actually also sent in a personal email to the mayor of Fort Erie, whose name is Doug Martin, and I didn't expect a response, but he actually called me up to, I think, try to persuade me that the condominium was going to revitalize the town of Fort Erie and do great things for the people of Fort Erie. And he didn't seem to be very happy that I was getting involved, because I think he thought it was a done deal. He told me there's no way to stop it. All the papers have been signed. All the contracts have been signed, which he was clearly pretty happy about, and not happy about me getting involved. So that's pretty much where we stand right now. The Ontario government does not seem to be taking action. The Ministry of Natural Resources does not seem to be doing much to protect the toads. Not to generalize, but from my experience, most people who work in government organizations don't really speak up and don't do much when the papers get signed and the decisions get made. They just kind of move on in their life. So I'm not expecting too much help from any particular person at the Ministry of Natural Resources. And that's pretty much the way it goes with environmental conservation in general. The way to get things done, from my experience, is by getting the public involved, so that there's so much public outcry that the politicians are forced to make a decision of risking their own personal reputation because they have so much overwhelming opposition to what they're doing, and then hopefully something gets done. Of course, there's another pathway, which is suing and taking legal actions, and we don't have an environmental lawyer at Save the Frogs, and we don't have experience in that realm. Now, if we could find one, that would be great. If there was someone who could do it pro bono, volunteer, or if we got another environmental group involved. Lots of environmental groups, certainly if they're big environmental organizations, may have environmental lawyers on staff. So that's one thing. So basically what I'm going to do is I created a list of some actions that we can take, and this is kind of based on our general Save the Frog strategy that we try to do many of these things when we have a campaign and want to get the word out and try to make something happen. So I've listed down some of my thoughts, and I'll go through them, and then we'll open it up to all of you to brainstorm and get your thoughts on things that we can do, in particular things that you may want to do yourself. My vision for this class is that we're meeting 4 times, and everyone is supposed to put in 24 hours of total effort to get your 3 credits, Save the Frogs Academy credits. So basically it's about 6 hours a week for 4 weeks, of which an hour and a half or so is this call. So I'll want you going out there and spending 4.5 hours after this call before the next time we meet. If you want to do more, fantastic, but try to get in your 6 total hours a week of toad time, getting the word out, and doing something beneficial for the toad. So I'm going to run down my list and be thinking about the kind of things that you think we should do and the kind of actions that you may want to take in this next week or over the next month to benefit the toads, raise awareness of the toads, and hopefully get us further down the path of protecting these toads. Okay, so first thing is we don't have any kind of flyer, an 8.5 by 11 flyer, PDF. We can put it on the website, downloadable, and then you all can distribute it to your people in Canada, in particular in Ontario. I guess this brings up an important point, is that we don't have many supporters in the greater Lake Erie region. So on this call, Marie and Tessa live there in the summer and maybe visit there occasionally. Eliza, I believe, lives in the area, so that's good. We definitely need more people on the ground there, and Marie probably knows people. So if we get a flyer, then, you know, the best place for the flyer to be posted is in the greater Lake Erie area, schools, libraries, coffee shops, etc., any place with bulletin boards, and then just emailing it to everybody that you all know in the Fort Erie area. And I'm also certainly fine for this to be a Canada-wide campaign, because there aren't too many amphibian campaigns going on in Canada. It's good for overall awareness. And also, if the whole of Canada is complaining about what's happening in Lake Erie, then it's one extra reason they will not want the bad publicity coming from all around the country. Okay, so we should get a flyer made. Next thing, and these are not in any particular order, a radio public service announcement, PSA. In America, a lot of radio stations, or maybe even all radio stations, are required by the FCC to provide free PSA time to nonprofit organizations. So perhaps that's the case in Canada, or perhaps there's just a radio station that likes the environment, and if somebody recorded a 30-second PSA, all you need is a good voice, 75 words or so, and a decent microphone, record it, edit it, and then start sending it to various radio stations in Canada, starting in the greater Lake Erie region. And sometimes you don't even need to record it yourself. You can just send them 75 words. They'll read it and record it and play it. So that would be a good way to get some awareness, hopefully for free. Next thing is petitions. We currently have an electronic petition, though it was, I think it's still up there. I need to verify. It may have been related to a specific call for comments that may have passed. Regardless, we should get the electronic petition going again, look over who precisely it's going to. I currently have a list of many politicians' email addresses. And the way the petition works, it's actually, you know what, this brings up a good point. It's not a petition. It's just a letter writing mechanism that will bombard them with letters when people hit send. Now, I like that in some respect, because the politician will wake up in the morning, check their email, there's 1,000 emails sitting there telling them to save the toads, and then we know they've heard our side. That being said, it's not a petition and doesn't have legal bearing unless it's part of a call for comments. So a petition, I don't know what rules are for petitions in Ontario government or federal Canadian government. And that brings up another point. We should also be bringing this to the federal government, because I'm sure the federal government has some type of control of what goes on with endangered species. And I guess we need to verify, maybe one of you knows, if the toad is listed as federally endangered or endangered in Ontario. If it's federally endangered, then we should be taking this to a federal level, especially as we know that Ontario kind of doesn't care from the Ontario government perspective. Back to the issue, though. What I was saying is that petitions have some legal weight in America, at least federal level petitions, and that if you deliver a petition to the government, certain government agencies may be required to act on that petition, whether that's holding a call for comments, giving an official response, taking some other kind of action. It probably changes based on government. So it may be good if somebody could find out what the government would do, whether it's federal or Lake Erie government or Ontario government, if we handed them petition signatures rather than just bombarding them with emails, because maybe they'd be required to act. So perhaps we should have an actual petition, official petition, and that's electronic. We should also have a paper petition. Paper petitions are good not just because they're collecting email addresses, or sorry, not just because they're getting signatures, but they're collecting email addresses of interested people. So, and this again assumes that there are people that we can get it to in Canada who can distribute it, take it out, and hopefully at a minimum collect 1 page of signatures. So if we had a paper petition, we could send it out to our mailing list of people in Canada, and then you all can send it out to all your friends and colleagues in Canada. And they're collecting email addresses on top of the actual petition signatures so that we then grow our campaign, because now we've got 500 people signed it. Now we've got hopefully 500 email addresses of people interested in this campaign who can help us out. All right, next up, local schools. Kids are hard to say no to. So when kids start complaining to the local government, then the local government is in a pretty awkward position in that they either have to tell the kids, sorry, we're going to kill the toads, or they have to lie and say the toads are going to do just fine, or else they have to listen to the kids. So I think it's really important to get into the local schools in the Lake Erie region and let them know, hey, these toads are going to get their habitat destroyed. Government's authorized the developers to harm, harass, and kill them. And maybe even get some kids coming out there as field trips. Another thing that I think would be good, and this again is difficult if we don't have many people in Lake Erie, but here's what I was thinking, was that it would be good to have a town meeting. I suggested this, or I invited Mayor Doug Martin, and he gave me a, without even thinking twice, no. He had no desire to take part. Contracts are signed. Everything's done. He's been talking about it for years. It's all over. That was his viewpoint. But he doesn't have to show up. We can just make him look bad if he doesn't show up, if it comes to that, or just go on without him. But so what I'm saying is that we should have a public meeting. It'd be great to have a public meeting in the town of Fort Erie to bring together politicians, developers, scientists, and concerned members of the public so that we can have an open discussion on all the issues. We'd invite council members to attend and every other relevant group and people that we can think of. And a good time for that would be mid-April, perhaps. I like things in April because it's right before Save the Frogs Day, which is another issue. So to have that town assembly would require somebody who could coordinate that and make sure that they're there. So that would be, it takes a lot of time to coordinate any event, but that would certainly be good. And, I don't know what the response would be from the opposition parties, but it would be a good way to raise awareness and get people talking and hopefully get some new supporters. Okay, something else we don't have is any kind of video. 3-minute YouTube video would be good. I don't have video experience. I don't have a video volunteer. Maybe some of you know how to make videos or have a friend who can put together a little video. Doesn't even need to be live footage, can just be some photos, text, but it requires a little bit of thought to go into it and someone who knows how to put it together. And then people could put it on their web pages and put it up to YouTube and send it out to all those people in the Lake Erie region. Next thing is a Save the Frogs Day event. Save the Frogs Day is the world's largest day of amphibian education and conservation action, conceived and coordinated by Save the Frogs. This year our goal is to have 300 educational events in 50 countries. Certainly would be good and relevant to have a Save the Frogs Day event in Lake Erie on Saturday, April 27th, 2013. Now that could be something in schools, or it could be something out at the lake, taking the public out to show them toads perhaps, go on a toad search, show them the habitat, talk about the problem. Could be a protest. Protests work well when you have a lot of people. They still work even if you only have a few people. But to have any people, we definitely need people in Lake Erie who are willing to get up and march with a sign for the toads. And I'm not sure where that would take place, if it would be, I have not personally been to Fort Erie, so I don't know the lay of the land, but the places, potential places are the offices of Ontario Ministry of Natural Resources, the town hall where the mayor and city council are in Fort Erie, march at the lakeside if there are actual people there who would be seeing it. Those are some options. So, yeah, Save the Frogs Day event would definitely be great to have. Press release and articles. We have a press release half-written. Press releases are kind of pre-written articles about a page long that you write up and send out to news reporters and say, hey, here's a press release. Can you write up an article, help us get some publicity for this campaign? And we have a list of journalists that we could, or we have a database and we could query up a list of journalists we can send it out to and see what happens. And articles in general, I have a list of at least, well, yeah, there's at least 10 different websites, small magazines that are always seeking any kind of content from Save the Frogs. So if we send them this, then they would post it. Who knows how many people see it, but it's, you know, once the article's written, it can be sent out to a lot of people. So that requires someone who's interested in journalism and good at writing. Next thing is an icon for websites. You'll notice that we don't have any icon. This little top image up here should say something like Save Lake Erie's Toads, www.savethefrogs.com/Lake Erie Toads. Something to that effect, that not only is it on our website, but we could send it out to anybody we know who has a website, including other nonprofit organizations. And it's a little visual way that people would see it, get interested, click through, and bam, see our page. Another thing is informational postcards, like a 4x6 postcard that has a picture of the toad and info about what's happening to the toads and a call to action that we could get printed up so they'd look professional, and those would get distributed around Fort Erie community. Again, that requires people out there who can take the time to set them out at libraries, in restaurants. Sometimes there's little postcard racks, or at events if we have any events, which hopefully we will, etc. And on that topic, I'll also say that included in this, in your scholarship for this Save the Frogs Academy class, we do have access to our awesome graphic designer, Allison Lee, who can help you all make a flyer or some postcards, etc. And we do have a bit of funding for the printing as well, if we do want to get some printing, or if we want to get some ad space somewhere, something like that. Next thing, we need some partners. Partners are nonprofit organizations, community groups, environmental groups, Burt Miller Nature Club type organizations that have a mutual interest in protecting the environment or protecting open space type areas, slow growth type groups. Anyone that may have a mutual interest in this campaign, we should have them on board in some respect. At a minimum would be having them put our icon on their website with a link to our page, hopefully even being able to email their newsletter mailing list about the issue, being able to promote any petition or letter writing campaigns that we have, perhaps helping out with getting some press. So we need to be contacting those groups and trying to get them on board. Next thing is Google AdWords. When you see ads showing up on the right side of a Google page, those are Google AdWords. And Save the Frogs is a Google grantee, meaning we get some free AdWords from Google, and we're currently below our quota, so we could make one for the Lake Erie toads. And that would be something that if we put in the keywords, so if someone types Lake Erie or Fort Erie or toads or environment, Canada, something to that effect, hopefully our little ad will pop up and they'll see it and say, what's that? Click through and then show up on our page and take action. Other things, and these both would require some significant on-the-ground support in Fort Erie, is to get some kind of t-shirt made, Save the Lake Erie Toads, just a way to raise awareness. Some bumper stickers, that's another possibility. So those are my ideas on things we can do, and right now I will open it up to you all to hear what's on your mind. If you have other ideas, if you have certain things that you want to work on specifically, and the goal is that by the end of our class today, everybody has hopefully chosen of their own free will something to do for the next week. Otherwise, we can distribute tasks to people if you can't think of anything that you want to do. But you probably all have something in mind. And before I unmute your mics, I have a couple comments that have come in through my chat screen. So let's see what's going on. Ryan says, when I looked deep into the proposal permits, the only thing I saw was that they agreed to periodic reviews of the species to ensure they were not declining. It didn't outline any preventative measures should the population begin to drastically decline. Yes, the permits are definitely deeply flawed as far as anything that's meant to protect an endangered species. You will not be very protected with those kind of permits being issued. Okay, so Ryan, if you do know some type of attorney, certainly if they have environmental experience, then definitely let them know about this class and the toads and see what's going on, or see what they can do or what they have to say. Okay, so I am going to start with Marie, because Marie has been involved in this for quite a while, and we'll get Marie's thoughts on any of this. Marie, you have the mic.
All right. Well, there is a call for comments right now from the federal government, Environment Canada, which is sort of like the national version of the Ministry of Natural Resources. So a real obvious thing to do would be to try to get a lot of letters sent to them. What they've done is, all right, see, the way the system works is they get like scientists to write up what should be done to take care of the Fowler's toads. And they do a good job on that, but then they don't follow through. So they've got the write-up that was done in Ontario for what should be done for the Fowler's toads. And they're making a federal version of that, which mainly what the federal government did was just take the Ontario's story about the toads and add some more specific points to it about where the toad's habitat is, which is good because the toad's habitat is tiny. That's why it's so crazy that you have to build on it. They're only like right on the beach. If you get up to the road, they're not there anymore. So that's what we need to do, I think, would be to try to get petitions and letters to Environment Canada. They're I think it might be March 15th. I don't remember the exact date, but we still have some time to get letters out. And we're some of the people here who are working on this but who aren't taking the course are working on that right now, trying to get people to write letters to the federal government.
Can you tell us?
The other thing is that.
Sorry, Marie, can you clarify the federal government, their call for comments? What is it related to this population of toads or Fowler's toads in general, or amphibians, or what is it?
It's the Fowler's toads, I believe, are only found in Ontario and only in 3 small places in Ontario. So it's the federal government's policy on the toads, but it's in reference to Ontario because that's the only place they are.
Okay.
So and then the other thing is that the Minister of Natural Resources, Gravel, who like totally ignored all of the input that he was given, has now been reassigned. He is no longer, what happened was the Premier of Ontario stepped down, McGuinty stepped down, and a new Premier of Ontario just came into power like a week ago or two, just a very short time ago. She is rumored to be a little more environmentally friendly than McGuinty was. And so she picked a new Minister of Natural Resources, and I'm hoping that he might be a little more environmentally friendly than the old Minister of Natural Resources was. So another thing we can do is try to write the new Minister of Natural Resources about this decision, and maybe even the new Premier, in case she really does have some interest in the environment, because it really is, I believe, just totally, the law is there, and all they have to do is enforce it. It's not like I'm trying to get them to make some law they don't already have. It's their own law, and it just seems way out of line that it's being ignored like this. So it's possible that if it was brought to her attention, she might listen, and I don't know. So those are 3 focus points, I think, that we could really hit these people with letters or petitions.
Can you tell me, what does the Environment Canada, what type of power do they have over what goes on in Ontario?
I wish I knew. I don't know. Somebody told me that it's kind of a suggestion type thing. Oh, which reminds me of another good person, the Environmental Commissioner of Ontario. His name is Gord Miller. He actually is an environmentalist, and his job is to oversee decisions that are made by the MNR and say that was a terrible decision, and he actually does that. And but again, it's just, it doesn't make any difference. You know, he doesn't have any teeth. You know, but he can publicize it was a terrible decision. So I have already contacted him about it once, and he was like, "Oh, geez, there's nothing we can do." You know, but again, he would be somebody that you could, you know, that if more letters were directed to him, maybe he would make it. You know, maybe he would publicize it more. unfortunately, ignoring protected species legislation is the norm. They have these very nice laws on the book, and they're routinely ignored. So this is, it seems to be, I mean, from my limited, I've only been in this for a short time, but this is what everybody's telling me. This is, you know, this is not going to be an easy thing for us because it's what happens all the time. But still, there are people that we can, they take your comments, they just don't act upon them. They write them all down, and they, you know, and then they just make the decision. They don't answer them. They don't, you know, make any kind of reasonable response. They just make their decision, and that's it. But they do take the comments, and so it's worth a try. There might be, maybe these new people coming in might, you know, be willing to try to give it an honest effort.
Okay, well, it sounds like you should go have a look at that call for comments. The best thing would be if it gives a email address to send your comments into.
It does.
Rather than it just being a form. Because what we can do, we can create another letter writing campaign that we send out to our people. And this one will have, ideally it would have Environment Canada email, as in it would go to multiple email addresses. When someone hits send, it would go to Environment Canada. It would go to the new Ontario MNR and the Premier and to Gord Miller. And just to let you know, and I'll go over this with you later to get this up to speed, but I have email addresses for minister.mnr at Ontario, Dora Zetti, who I believe is the current Minister of Natural Resources, Doris Dumays, Millicent Dixon, Kevin French, Karine Barry-Yalt, Joe Durst, Linda Freeman, ESA.permits.agreements at Ontario, EnviroInfo at ECGCCA, and Leslie Dunn, as well as Mayor Doug Martin and the mayor and council at Fort Erie, which is the email address for the whole council of Fort Erie. So we could, you know, we'll get that list up to date, but when someone hits send, we can make it so that it goes out to all those people. So if we get 1,000 people to hit send, then it's 1,000 emails showing up in all those people's inboxes.
That'd be great.
Yeah. So, and I guess as a general statement, it's potentially annoying to politicians or corporations when they get bombarded like that. So they may not like you afterwards, but, you know, if you're going to be killing toads, that's something you got to deal with.
Yeah, well, as I'm sure you picked up, Mayor Martin is already extremely hostile. This is already a very contentious issue. Most of the people in the town are already, they might not know much about the toads, but they're very divided on the issue of the condominium. I mean, there were already big petitions sent to the town government opposing it, lots and lots of letters written, people appearing in council and complaining about it. Yellow signs went up all over the community against this condominium. It's a really despised condominium. And I don't know how much they understand the toad part of it, but the idea of putting this condominium on the beach, which the people also use, was unpopular in itself.
Okay. Where
the people that are pushing it through are, you know, they're
the people with the money.
Yeah.
Okay. Where are the offices of Molinaro?
Burlington.
How far away is that?
I don't really know. I'm getting maybe an hour or
okay.
Not 45 minutes maybe or something.
Okay.
They do this everywhere. They bring their condos and they build them. They don't care how much the neighbors hate it, but almost everywhere they build something, they're really high, they're out of scale, and people protest about it, and they know how to get around everything and get that condo built no matter what anybody says. Okay.
All right. Do you have anything else to say before we pass it on to somebody else?
No, go ahead, pass on.
Okay. All right, I'm going to put it to Eliza, who says she currently works in the building. I don't know what building that is, but here we go, Eliza. You'll have to unmute yourself. All right, you're on.
Hello?
Hi.
Yeah, so this is really shocking. I'm glad I got involved, and I feel like I could be quite a big help to this issue. Basically grew up in Fort Erie, and currently working in the Burlington office. In the office, I'm working with species at risk. I work for the federal government, just a contract position. I started in January, and I'm working with fish and mussel species. So if there is any questions on how M&R and federal government stuff like that works, I can try my best to answer the questions. I know there was a couple questions about Environment Canada and where they step in, and that's a little unclear to me as well. I know that there is provincial and federal laws that they safeguard the critical habitat for species, but I think Environment Canada just provides kind of regulations. They get a science team members to look over this stuff, and then federally and provincially those species are protected. So I think that for me the best thing would be to, join. I'm really surprised more people from the Burt Miller Club aren't involved in this issue, but definitely I have a lot of contacts in the area, so if flyers were made, I would definitely be willing to distribute them. I know I know all the local schools, and so I can definitely distribute information and definitely talk to sister partners of the Burt Miller Foundation and try to get them involved as well. And also at work, I can see what's going on in the environment sector. I work with fish and mussel species, so I'm not overly sure with what's going on with amphibians, but now that we've kind of sparked this conversation, I'm definitely interested. And so I'll talk to some of my colleagues at work this week and see what they know about, if they know what's going on with the issue. And yeah, I don't really even know where the site is for the condos. Maybe Marie, we can meet up or discuss where exactly it is.
Yeah, I think, yeah, talk to Marie, and maybe we should have some kind of little Google map put onto the website so that people do know the precise location. I'm sure it's in the permits, but let me ask you, you work for the MNR, or who do you work for?
The federal government.
Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah, so ask around, and then I think if you know the Burt, and I don't know anything about the Burt Miller Nature Club. It sounds like it's a local club, but
yeah, it's just local in Fort Erie, and I just joined to learn more about nature.
Okay. Well, it would be great if the Burt Miller Nature Club could lead a Save the Frogs Day event focused on the toads. And maybe that's just, basic amphibian education and taking people out to look for the toads. And I don't know, I don't know what toad activity levels are like in April or anything like that, but it would definitely be good to get those people involved. So,
yeah.
I don't know how often they meet or anything, but just like Marie did and went and talked about the toads, the next time you're at their meeting, it would be good to bring it up to everybody and get people's inputs and see what they all think.
For sure, yeah. I definitely think it was brought up at the last meeting, and that's how I found out about it, but it was very quick and vivid. So I think if we had some flyers or something,
yeah.
And got people to actually commit, a couple people to help commit, then it would definitely, and I'm sure people would, they just kind of need someone to lead it, I think.
Yeah, okay. So flyers and petitions and some precise action steps for them, and then let them know that if they want to join us on these calls, if anybody there is interested in it, then they can do that.
Okay.
Okay. And also, if I didn't do it already, I'll make sure that all of you have each other's email addresses so that you can communicate. Okay. So let me see some of these incoming messages before I move on. Okay. So Ryan says he may know some people who can help out with some film action to make a 3-minute YouTube video. And, of course, because it's the internet, it does not matter that you live in California. So we would just need to get it made and get it spread out, hopefully, to people's websites. All right. Burt Miller Nature Club meets once a month. Okay, so I'm going to put Lindsay on the air. Lindsay King, are you out there?
Yes, I am.
Hi.
Notes. I'm trying to find it on my computer. What I think would be beneficial, and I apologize because I'm not familiar with the politics of Canada. So, you know, just how I would handle it if it were something in my neighborhood is I would need to get, I'll research this to get the actual statistics to back up what I'm saying, but when you're looking at anything like high-density housing projects, those can actually hurt surrounding property values. So I think if we can really just play up on the fact that people who already live there could be negatively impacted by this because you could be bringing in people of lower income. I know it kind of sounds terrible to say, but when you're looking at development projects, that's something to consider. Also, as far as the shopping center, what I think is important to find out right now is how many vacancies you already have, how many vacant lots, how many buildings for lease, because if you can prove that there's actually no demand for that, that can actually create even more problems in the area because now you have more vacancies. So those are things that I've just kind of looked at on a local level. Also, how do campaign donations work in Canada? Because if you can somehow link the developers to constantly funding these people, that's something else that would be really good to point out because you can say, look, they don't have our interest at heart. They're looking at what's funding their campaigns. So that's just kind of where I'm coming from on that. For me, I'm more of a research-oriented person. I did a BA because I actually wanted to write an undergrad thesis. I'm weird like that. So I know my skills would probably be best used writing anything that we need, whether it's flyers, like little postcards like you were saying. That's probably where I'd be better. I'm not that good at public speaking, but I try.
Okay. Yeah, so maybe you can help out with some text for the flyers or postcards or an article if you like to write. You can help out with press releases, articles, and getting the word out in that respect. How's that sound?
Yeah.
Okay. And then also as far as campaign donations, I did ask Mayor Martin when he was on the phone with me. I said, do you receive money from the developers? And he said no. I don't know if that's true, but just to let you all know, that's the response.
That would be good for the local people because when I was doing my undergrad thesis, I actually went to the Woodland City Hall, and I got documents that proved that the developers were funding these people, and there was just no way they could deny it at that point. That's why if we could get people, I don't know if you have access to that in Canada, but that would be something to show right there. He can say whatever he wants, but if you have it in writing saying, no, actually you are taking donations from these people, then he's going to be forced to say something else, you know?
Yeah. Even if they are, unless it's an illegal type of thing going on, then it's, the only thing we can do with it is use that in our publicity campaign. It's still a question of how do we most effectively get the word out about the issue.
It hurts his integrity.
Sure, yeah.
You got to take what you can get in these things, and I think that, also proving how these projects can be really detrimental to the area is really important. You might have people that are angry, but you need them to step up and say, no, we need to put a stop to this now.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of where I'm thinking with that.
Okay, I like your public speaking, Lindsay. You should do more public speaking. Okay, so thanks for your input, and let's see. Let's get Sadie on the line. Sadie, you're on the line.
Hi.
Hi.
I am in Olympia, so there's a lot of things that I can't do. But I'm also really interested in helping make a video, a YouTube video.
Okay.
And I could also do some research to try to find organizations that could help us publicize.
Okay. Do you have any kind of video experience?
I do have a little bit, and my partner has quite a bit, and she would be able to help me with it.
Okay, well that sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
So why don't you start thinking about the content of the video? And I don't have that many toad photos. Obviously, neither of us can get toad video. Maybe Marie has some access to imagery. Otherwise, you'll just have to kind of get creative and maybe show people habitat destruction and things like that, or fill it up with text or talking. You know, you could film yourself talking and just, you know, make do with whatever we have. But getting a video would be cool, and some good environmental film experience. So what was the other thing you said? Video, and then did you say something else?
Trying to find other organizations.
Oh yeah.
In Canada, or
Sure, yeah, because that's the kind of thing
online.
you just need the internet to do.
Yeah.
And Marie probably knows a couple. I just have, well, I'll write it. Let's see, there's environmental defense, which I think somebody has been in touch with already. And then there's Eco Justice.
Okay.
And Sierra Club Canada. Those are the only groups that I have written down. There's also David Suzuki Foundation, or something named after David Suzuki. I don't know if their mission is Canada-wide or just British Columbia or what. So those are some places to start, but it only takes, you know, Google to tell you a whole lot more.
Yeah.
And for any of these things where we contact lots of people or send out lots of articles or something like that, basically my thought is that you guys will create the, you know, template email, dear so-and-so, here's a problem we're hoping your group can get involved, here's how you can get involved. And then, yep.
Once we make emails and things like that, do we send them to you to read them?
Yeah, so that's what I was saying, is that if you're going to be sending lots of something out to people, then run it by me. We've got time set for this class that each week you've got up to about half an hour with me privately, so that we can Skype or phone call. We can share screens on Skype if you want me to see something. So, you know, you can come up with a draft and I'll look something over, edit it, give it my thoughts, and then you're sending out a hopefully wonderful, perfect version of something out to all these groups. And then, yeah, so each week you'll put in your hours of doing toad work. We'll talk to make sure you're on the right path and to get advice from me. And then next week, each week, we all report what we did, and everyone will put in their input, and we'll talk about next steps, and everyone will provide their input on that. So, yeah, that sounds good. So, video and finding potential partners are two things for Sadie to be looking into this week. Lindsay's going to be helping out with writing press release articles, maybe coming up with a flyer. Marie is going to be working on compiling the list of politicians and perhaps working with me on you know, who to petition and the text for the petitions and things like that. Maybe helping to get a paper petition made. And Eliza is going to be talking to her contacts in the government and various nature club type places around the Lake Erie area. And let's see what Tessa has to say. Tessa, you will need to unmute yourself to speak. Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
I will do whatever is left. I'm not sure what else there was.
Okay. Well, here's my idea then. Since Sadie will be pretty busy on a video, how about we have you take over trying to find some partners, some nonprofit groups, and helping to come up with an email to them. Or, you know, and you're certainly welcome to call people. I know even if you're in America, certain phone lines, if you have VoIP, it's potentially free to Canada, or there's, you know, I don't know what your situation is on the phone, but if you need to call people, I think most people can find, or even like Skype with Wi-Fi or something like that. If you need to call Canada, there's probably inexpensive ways to do it in this day and age. Otherwise, certainly sending emails and following up with people is good. So what do you think about taking charge of finding partners?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, let's look that up.
Cool. All right. Do you have any other thoughts on anything?
No, everything sounds good. Sorry, I don't really have a voice right now.
Okay. All right. You're welcome to type something in if you have anything. So, all right. So that sounds good to me. And then let's see if what else is coming in from Ryan. All right, so Ryan sent in some ideas for the video. Quick summary of the issue, educational points on the values of biodiversity and the problems of big business, mega corporations moving in to build big condos, and that the group in charge of it is disregarding the wishes of the local residents. Okay, Ryan, I'm going to unmute you, and we'll see how much noise is going on. So you're unmuted. You'll have to unmute yourself. Hi.
Is that a tolerable level of background noise?
So you're on.
Yeah, I was just thinking, I've seen a lot of quick YouTube videos where, you know, it's just one person speaking and, you know, they cut to either still images or extremely short 1-second videos while they're talking, just to kind of animate and add effects and weight to what they're saying. I was thinking that might be a really good way to do the YouTube video.
Okay, I'm not exactly sure what you mean, but maybe
Yes. It's kind of hard to describe, but I'll find an example and email you the kind of style that I'm thinking about.
Okay, so you and Sadie should be in touch then, and you know, again, I don't have any. If you both want to make videos, if you want to make a separate video, you're certainly welcome to do that. Do you have any other thoughts on things that you would want to work on, or any thoughts on anything?
Really, actually, my brain's just been going around in circles over the video. I think I have a lot of pretty good ideas. I've already started writing some scripts down for it.
Okay, well, that sounds good. So I'm going to go back to mute so that we don't have your background noise. So, yeah, Ryan, I think you and Sadie should be in touch over the video. And, you know, if you have completely different ideas, then it's fine to make 2 videos. And otherwise, feel free to collaborate. Again, there's no limit on the time length of the videos. I just said, you know, 3 minutes because it's kind of a standard YouTube length. Short videos get more views. But it's essentially, you know, up to whoever makes the video to use their best judgment. And then also be thinking about how the video will get promoted, which I guess is the same as everything else, by emailing relevant groups, hopefully getting some of our nonprofit partners to promote it. There's no telling what happens with YouTube videos. Sometimes they get 30 views, sometimes they get far more. But, you know, hopefully they're educational, and once you have them made, they sit up there educating people all day long. Okay, so I think that we heard from everybody, and let's see. I guess I don't have anything else to say. If someone else has anything to say right now, then go ahead and type me something, and I can put you back on the line, or I can read what you said. And if not, I think we'll call it good right now and just go out, do some work on whatever we discussed, and I'll send you all out an email shortly, and we'll try to set up some times where you guys can talk to me either on the phone or on Skype. And my Skype ID, I just chatted to you all. So if you're a Skype user, you can go send me a request. And if you're not a Skype user, go get a Skype account, because Skype is very useful for many different things, and it's free. All right, does anyone have anything to add? All right, so sounds like that's it. So thank you all very much for attending the Save the Frogs Academy Lake Erie Toads class, and hopefully next week we'll all be able to report back with some cool things that we did to help get this toad campaign accelerated. All right, thank you very much, everyone. Have a good week.